Thank you. Love your work, GT.
Doesn't it feel good to just yell that into the void with me?
I feel so
right much better.
I fucking get it, dude.
You get it. Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Keep up the good work, man.
Thanks. You're welcome anytime.
Bye.
Thank you. Jess.
Hello.
Sup?
Just up. Well, let me preface this by saying I have never voted. Because of religious reasons. Just because of how I was raised. Not my own decision, but how I was raised.
Okay.
So yeah, never voted.
Okay.
I'm 27.
Okay.
You're like, hate this.
We're talking about this thing now.
Well, yeah, of course.
Sure. Okay, great.
So, I am just curious why you think MAGA is weird. Like, if you had to consolidate it, what would you say?
Tonight we've been talking, I just put this up to get angry conservatives in here to yell at me, right? And
yeah, of course. I've been in here for like an hour and a half, maybe?
There's lots of, so we've been talking about, not to be too fucking pointed here, but your right to access healthcare and whether or not you should have it. And I think that the concept that they don't sort of internalize what that means is strange to me. There's lots of other sort of like idiot things that we can just point to and be like, this is weird. But like the big ticket items are like rolling back discrimination policies for the LGBTQIA community and restricting your rights to access abortion. And also contraception, and also down the road, who the fuck knows what they're going to do to plunge us into the Handmaid's Tale. And I think that weird is a nice, it may be a little bit of a soft euphemism for like abject horror and terror, but like it's TikTok. So I think that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a lot of people in the chat that are saying, like asking what religion doesn't allow you to vote.
She's in the chat already.
Do you want to tell us? You don't have to.
No, not really.
That's fine. Is it going to prohibit you from voting this time?
No.
Okay. Do you? Who are you leaning towards?
I don't know, because I feel like, well, I will say the way that you were acting towards that one guy was like, I feel like really intense to me.
Sure. And so you're going to vote for Donald Trump because of that?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm just trying to figure out.
No,
I think this particular conversation is pretty emotionally charged, and my reaction to this was based on like this concept that like we can just agree to disagree on certain things, and that shouldn't elicit sort of strong feelings towards one another. Except in this instance, people are advocating to remove rights away from human beings in America, your fellow Americans, you, Jessica. And when they're co-signing the idea that like the U.S. government gets to decide what you can do with your body, and then say, I think the government should make rights for you, but not for me. But don't get mad don't get mad at me because I want that. I just think that they should control you, Jessica, but don't, we can agree to disagree. Don't hate me. I'm going to vote for people that are going to take away your rights, but don't get mad at me. I think that on the surface is a very, very dumb thing to say. Of course of course I'm fucking mad at you for that. Of course we're going to be upset about that. The concept that you are deserved respect for this hurtful sort of like position that you're taking is bullshit. And that's, you heard me yelling at that guy because he's making this stance based on a lot of like information that he wasn't even prepared to have a conversation about. He didn't even know. So like, worse than making that decision, making that vote ignorantly, not without all of the facts, is even worse. Asking to take away your rights, Jessica, and me not having a really good reason behind it, really stupid, extra stupid, extra worthy of our condemnation.
Well, yeah, of course, but
Sure.
how about what policies are taking away our rights?
Abortion. Roe v. Wade.
What about abortion?
Okay, so before when Roe v. Wade was overturned, right? It was federal protection of abortion in all states. It was overturned by a corrupt, packed Supreme Court, illegitimate in many ways.
Not Roe v. Wade though. What policies would Trump indict that would take away women's rights for abortion?
He's not going to oppose a federal abortion ban, meaning that if an abortion ban is brought to the House and tried to be made law, he's not going to oppose it. He said it a bunch of times.
Yes. So then what?
Well, then it becomes very dangerous for women to exist and give birth in America. Even more dangerous than it is right now.
Somebody in the chat said Project 2025.
Well, let's not read the chat. Let's just talk to me, right?
Okay. All right. You're right.
Cool. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
It's not just Trump, just out here winging it. It's the people that he surrounds himself with, and Project 2025 is part of that. That's the staffing policy with replacing people who have vocally opposed Trump with sycophants and people that will just do whatever he says. That is the logical conclusion to this conversation we're having. Which if nobody opposes him, he can just do whatever he wants and cater to his base. His base, which is like that guy earlier, wants you to have less access to health care, Jessica, and he'll just let it happen. That's very dangerous. Super, hyper dangerous for all the women in here talking about...
Yes.
Hmm?
What? Oh, sorry. I thought she was talking. Is Caitlin talking?
Nope.
No, I'm letting you speak. Sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Well, I live in Missouri, and there are no exceptions at all for abortion, and it's actually really scary. And I know that hopefully it'll be on the ballot to change that in November. I know. I had a similar situation like Monica's situation. I was pregnant though, and I ended up having a seizure, and they found a tumor in my brain. I found out it's a rare form of brain cancer. I did choose to have an abortion, but I had to flee the state to do that. And it was actually really scary. Having to
Horrific.
Yeah, it is. It's horrific. And, I have 3 children already. So, I mean, I would love to have more, but I don't know, with this diagnosis, if I'd be able to do that. But I think it's scary that people that have no medical degrees and that just have their religion to base their, reasons for doing these things, I think that's just really scary.
Agree. So, Jessica, you heard like a bunch of women up here before, and including Caitlin, give like sort of nightmare horror stories about like what would happen if they weren't able to access this healthcare, and that is on the table. Like that like women who gave their stories would be forced to do incredible like things, and often in cases like several people up here would die because of laws that are being proposed. And so when we have the two options of
Sorry, wait, what laws?
outlawing access to contraception, fully outlawing.
What law is that?
What do you mean? What law is that?
Well, name it.
I don't know the name.
Not
of
a
the
law. Trump had the court ban, reverse Roe versus Wade, so that went back to the states. Now each state has made decisions on whether they allow abortions or not, and that's kind of how this happened.
Where's Jamie? So I guess. Hold on. So when I say that to you, and your reaction is like, "What law?"
Yeah,
Do you think that we're just making it up?
Asking.
Sure.
No, I'm
sure.
genuinely asking.
There are. Ted Cruz voted on the concept that they should bring this law to a vote, the banning of certain contraceptions, and the logical conclusion is all contraceptions, and that's a bummer.
I mean, well, yeah, of course. Obviously, that would be terrible if contraception was banned. I'm just asking you, is it actually banned?
Not currently, but there are places where it's being brought to a vote already in America, in Ted Cruz's America. They're trying to do that. They also have vocalized, things just don't become law. But when one side, we're talking about who to vote for, right, Jessica? When one side's going, maybe we should track women and their menstrual cycles to make sure that they're not leaving the state when they're pregnant, and one side is not doing that. I can't tell if she can hear us or not.
No, I can.
Okay. It's kind of a fucking no-brainer.
Can I hop in?
Sure.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for having me. Jessica, it sounds like your argument is trying to remove Trump from the abortion bans that have been set in various states. And that's a disingenuous argument. He picked
No, I don't have an argument. I don't care about Trump versus Kamala. That's I'm
not saying Trump versus Kamala either. But from what I heard you say, Trump didn't.
I haven't heard her say anything.
Well, she was alluding to the fact that Trump didn't do the ban. They just overturned Roe v. Wade, which put the decision in the states. That the logical conclusion of what that argument is based on is that Trump wasn't supporting anything. He had a neutral position. It was the Supreme Court. He was the one who chose the Supreme Court justices who did this. So I am a lawyer in Idaho. We have one of the strictest abortion bans. You are only allowed to have an abortion if your life is at stake, if you've had rape or incest, but only if you report that rape or incest to law enforcement, which would force that person to relive the trauma that led to them needing to have an abortion. At the time the abortion ban was inflicted in Idaho, our main hospital was life-flighting women to safe states every other week to get them the care that they need to save their life. Because the doctors in Idaho were too afraid that they might make the wrong decision of whether or not that woman, I don't even want to say woman, the person who is pregnant, whether or not they are close enough to dead. So they would rather life flight them to another state. Now, this did go to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court punted it. So right now, the only protection for these women and doctors in Idaho is a temporary injunction that could be overturned at any time. So a question I have for Jessica, if you have a position on this, is what do you think the punishment should be for women or people who are pregnant who actually defy the ban and can find a doctor who's willing to defy the ban, or they're in a gray area and they might be defying the ban? the person who's going to determine if they're defining a ban is a lawmaker in Idaho who thinks the stomach is connected to the vagina. We have somebody with that level of intelligence and that level of
crazy.
understanding of anatomy. That's the person.
Can't you just
deciding-
swallow a camera pill and just look in the vagina?
Yes.
That's what's so scary about it. It's like these people are just so like, I don't even know how to even describe it. They're just like, they have no medical background and they just like make this stuff up as they go.
And it's not even no medical background. They don't even have a basic understanding of anatomy from high school.
Exactly.
So these are the people making these laws. And due to these idiots making these laws, we've lost 22% of our OBGYNs, and half of the counties in the state of Idaho no longer have a single OBGYN to help thousands and thousands of women. So to that end, what should be the punishment if these bans are defined?
For the women?
Right now, doctors are not only facing losing their license, they're facing imprisonment.
Are you asking me for the women? What should be the punishment?
And the doctors.
Well, yeah, I don't think that there should be punishment for the women.
So
Or
then
the
why have an abortion ban if there's not going to be a punishment?
I'm not saying there should be an abortion ban.
Okay.
Jessica, I don't know. I think that
I just
It-
don't
it's
get your
tough.
stance on this.
I think that that's kind of what we're coming up against is like
Well, I don't have like a super strong stance. I was
know.
just like asking questions.
I get my kind of question is like how is that? How is it that you don't have a super strong stance about this?
Well, sorry.
You're a woman.
Well, hold on. Let's let her.
Yeah, I think it's because of how I grew up. Like I grew up super religious, so I always
So did I.
being like, okay. I always grew up being like, don't take a stance on something. So yeah, I think that's how I've carried over into my adulthood, and I don't think that I'm like. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I'm like also. I don't know. I feel like I'm like, more neutral on certain things, I guess.
Jessica, do you mind if I ask if you are, of childbearing age or if you plan to have children?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so if you were to get pregnant and in your pregnancy you started hemorrhaging to the point where you may die, do you think you should have the option to have an abortion to save your life?
Well, yeah, I think obviously, I think if people are like about to die, I think
Then I think that you do have a stand.
And that's the whole
You need to
point.
figure out what that stand is.
No, I think in that this is the problem though, because this is like whether you're left or right, you do have a stand, and it's the same thing.
But see,
Can you
I don't think
expand
it
on
has
that?
to do with the right or left. I think it more has to do with what you think is right or wrong.
Yeah, but I'm
And
saying
you don't have I don't understand, I just don't understand how, as women or, like, that's the biggest thing to me. That men, there's so many men, controlling things. But the real thing that bothers me is women who don't have a stance on this, or like will just allow men to have the say because they just don't want to think about it or whatever. I don't understand.
Ivy, can I just jump in real quick? Okay,
I
Jessica.
don't know.
So she asked you a question. This hypothetical that happens all the time, right? When a medically necessary abortion to save your life, when the pregnancy is no longer viable, and in certain instances, if abortion is banned, no exceptions, you just die in this instance. It's hard for me to I'm just a dude, so it really doesn't matter. But logically, if you were against that, the stance that you have is that you need access to that care. And if one side, the right, is going to limit...
Well, I don't think that's what she was asking. I don't think she was asking about like you having access to the care. I think she was saying, do you want the decision to abort?
have access to the care. Jamie, correct me if I'm misinterpreting this.
Well, so if you follow the logical consequences of having these bans, it's going to be like in our state, if you are in one of half of the counties that don't have an OBGYN, it's not even about abortion at that point. It is about receiving care.
Okay.
And another point that I would like to make is if you do not take a stand, you are going to be left with whatever happens. You are not going to have a say in your own rights and your own ability to take care of yourself. So not taking a stand is going to leave yourself in a vulnerable position. If not to think about anybody else, you're hurting yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying I won't take a stand. I'm just saying I historically have not because of my upbringing.
Cool.
So just to jump in one more time, someone has said in the comment, have you gone to nursing school?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And that doesn't affect, how you're feeling about women receiving medical care that's necessary.
Well, I obviously think women should receive that care.
So I think deep down that you do have a stand. You just need to find your voice.
Well, I mean, I think you can say, yes, women should have access to that care. And also, be like reasonable with your political stance.
How do you see that working out? What does that mean?
What is reasonable? What do you mean by reasonable?
Well, I think that like the way that the host, I love you, but the way you were reacting to the guy earlier, I think that was like totally unnecessary. I don't think that like changes anything. I don't think that helps anyone.
So you don't think it helps anyone, but do you think it hurts people?
Do I think it hurts people to yell at them?
No, I'm not saying yelling. When you so you're saying if we're turning it to politics, if I'm understanding you correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that when we start looking at the political sides of this, that it's really not helping anybody.
No. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the host, which I like him. I join his live often, but I'm saying earlier, he was saying like I hate you to somebody who was on the platform.
Could you understand how it could be very, very painful and infuriating that people take such a firm stand that will absolutely result in the death of women?
Yeah, but here's the thing. He wasn't taking such a firm stand that would result in the death
But his the logical conclusion, sorry to interrupt.
Yes, he was.
He didn't say it outright, but the logical conclusion of his thought process leads to that. Maybe he doesn't understand his own logical thought process and doesn't follow it to the end. But if you follow his thought process to the end, that is the result.
Jessica, have I been mean to you?
No, of course not. It's fine.
Okay.
But I'm saying, how was his thought process leading to the death of women?
Outlawing, oh my God, we're going to do it again?
Well, I don't think we actually walked through his whole thought process. So his thought process is he's going to support abortion. He's going to vote for whatever party will support abortion. And he's not going to stand up and say, hey, guys, we can do abortion, but we got to make sure we protect X, Y, and Z. He's not going to do that. No. He is going to vote for the party who allows abortion and then not care about the consequences of that. And the consequences of that
are all the things we've been talking about for the last 3 hours. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's why there's so much frustration. I'm trying to stay calm, but it's